It's fairly windy today. Windy says it's 16, gusting up to 25 knots. So that's quite windy for me. Anyway, see how we get on. The last time I went out in fairly windy weather, I felt completely out of my depth and quite unsafe, and I ended up coming straight back in again. So today, as my expression suggests, I am feeling quite apprehensive. It feels quite windy. It's 3 hours after low water, so the tide's coming in, and it's a southwesterly wind, so it's going to be wind against tide, so I think it's going to be quite choppy. First, I undo the sail ties. Then I hoist the mainsail. Here I realise that I haven't slackened off the main sheet, so I go aft to do that. And then finish hoisting the mainsail. Stupidly, I didn't put a reef in before I came out, so I need to do that now. The reefing went surprisingly easily. Though with the boat moving around like this, even the smallest things, like tidying up reefing lines, became much trickier to do. I think we could try some sailing. I dropped the centreboard. I haven't tied up the reefs. I need to do that. Funnily enough, I felt surprisingly comfortable in these bumpy conditions. As I was head to wind, the motion was mostly up and down, and that was fine. I know that if I'd been beam on with a side to side rolling motion, that would have been very different. So I'm very grateful to my tiller pilot. Without it, I wouldn't have got the sails up at all, I'm sure. Here I unfurl the jib whilst leaving a bit of it furled to balance the sails. And engine off, finally.
Now we're sailing. Oh shit, I've left all the fenders out, but
I decide to leave the last couple of fenders where they are. I don't fancy clambering around on deck to retrieve them. And now this starts to feel like fun.
whoa! This is proper sailing.
This wasn't a great tack. I went round far too slowly and Shamrock practically came to a standstill. Still, these things happen.
Shamrock's very nicely balanced with these sails, aren't they? So 2 reefs in the main, and I've got the jib furled a bit. It's very comfortable. So it was slightly nerve-wracking getting everything up. And it looks like one of my reefing lines, the first reefing line, has come undone. Anyway, I've got the second reef in, so that doesn't matter.
With wind against tide, there were some impressively chunky waves.
Okay, I've just gone hove to so I can sort a few things out. I think I haven't got the peak fully tightened, and I need to sort out the second reefing line, which is flapping about. It's nice and calm being hove to. Okay, that's better. I got the peak tighter. I'll sort out this reefing line.
Here I decide to head back to the marina, gradually turning back down the river.
Okay, this is quite calm now, sailing downwind against the incoming tide. Going this way, everything quietens down a lot, obviously.
Heading back into the marina, I had to go across the river, which meant being beam on to the wind and waves, and that meant a few minutes of exciting rolling around. And finally, back to peace and calm. A few things I learnt from that. First one was when I was putting the sails up with the engine on, was not to have the engine full on. Last time I did that and I was going quite fast into the waves, which exaggerated the bouncing up and down. So this time I pulled the engine revs back a bit. I mean, obviously I needed enough to push against the wind, but yeah, that meant I wasn't smashing into the waves so hard, so that was good. Second thing is put reefs in before you go out. Ironically, I've done that many times before, putting a reef in while I'm here in the berth, but this time I completely forgot, and it wasn't until I started raising the sails I realised I needed a reef. But actually, yeah, it was surprisingly easy to put it in. I went straight for a second reef and that all went pretty smoothly. Yeah, and I suppose the other thing was kind of obvious, is that everything, when it's windier, everything happens kind of quicker. You've got to manage the tiller and the sheets a lot more. I mean, and things like, you know, I realised my fenders were all hanging out and I just thought, you know, forget it. They can stay out. I'm not going to worry about them right now because I've got too many other things to deal with. I did go hove to sort out a few bits and pieces like that. But yeah, it's just lots more going on and more kind of input, and you don't have so much time to do things, which is all pretty obvious, but it's another thing to actually experience it. Another thing was coming downwind. On a couple of occasions I tried to put the tiller lock on because I just wanted to tweak something with the roller reefing line, and just with some quite big following waves, it's very easy with the waves coming behind to get knocked off course, and suddenly I was reaching instead of going before the wind, and everything got a bit hectic for a moment. It's not so easy, well, especially running before the wind, to just let the tiller lock do its thing. You need to be managing the tiller more. In all, it was good. I managed it pretty well. It wasn't as hectic as I thought it was going to be, and it all seemed fairly manageable, and there were some pretty big waves, so that's good experience. Hour and a half was long enough though. I was quite happy to come back in after about an hour and a half, but yeah, maybe next time try a bit more wind. All good.